With WrestleMania coming up, there is one superstar that I think could play a pretty pivotal role in this whole thing. What about CM Punk? We know that CM Punk got injured at the Royal Rumble. He's been taken out of the storyline. He was going to be going up against Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship at Mania. I was really looking forward to this. I loved Punk's return at Survivor Series. I thought they were doing a great job with Seth, really leaning into his hatred and playing off of the reality of his feelings towards Punk over the years. And I really liked how they were building the story. And then when Punk gets injured, we have to find a new #1 contender. And now we're at this point where Drew McIntyre is going up against Seth Rollins, Night 2 WrestleMania for the world title. I love Drew's character. I love his character work that he has done for the last couple of months. Basically, since Punk was injured or leading up to Punk's injury, Drew has really turned it up a notch by becoming that troll, that heel. And then when Punk announced he got injured, he really leaned into it even more. And it made Drew a real standout because for so long, I was feeling kind of bored with Drew's character overall. I thought he needed a new hook, a new identity, something else to work with. And this version of Drew McIntyre works extremely well. And you can kind of see that all the seeds have been planted for when CM Punk returns, maybe by SummerSlam, that we would get Drew versus Punk and maybe Punk's return match, which could be awesome because that's like months and months and months of build for this whole thing. This narrative of Drew pushing Punk out. Sure, he didn't cause the injury, but he's just been jabbing at him, poking at him, being a tool about the whole thing. And it would be excellent motivation for when Punk comes back, and you could have those two go at it for months. But what about WrestleMania? This is where it gets interesting because the storyline between Seth and Drew has been pretty good. It's a little complicated because you have Seth going off doing the tag team match with The Rock, Roman, Cody, and then he's also got this other story that he's in with Drew. And Drew is also talking more positively about the bloodline, which is also an interesting little wrinkle. When you have The Rock going out week after week, especially when Seth is around, talking about how he will take that world title away from him, I think that could possibly happen at WrestleMania when we see the bloodline leading up to Mania interfering more and taking out Seth, Drew getting the upper hand. There is more possibility that the bloodline gets involved in the world title match and could potentially cost Seth the world title, and Drew finally crowning himself again as world heavyweight champion, as WWE champion like before, but him getting the world heavyweight championship and him solidifying himself as a main event heel. So then what about Punk? To me, the one thing that WrestleMania could do is bring CM Punk in as special guest referee for this match. This match is good. The Seth Drew match on its own, in its current state, current iteration of Drew McIntyre, is very good. It's very strong. However, we have seen this matchup several times. The actual match between Drew and Seth, I think, no doubt would be good, but how do you make it different? How do you make it a little more unique? It could be as simple as just the bloodline interferes with it, costing Seth the match, and then new world champion. And there we go. Maybe a Damian Priest cash in if we're not going to go down that path. There are some options and wiggle room there, but I don't think Seth walks out with the world title. So how do you make the world title match more interesting at WrestleMania? You insert CM Punk. Couple of reasons why. Punk, yes, he has the injury. He could still play a role at Mania. Some people talk about CM Punk coming out and doing commentary, maybe even guest commentary during the world title match, thus maybe getting himself involved. He could still pick up a weapon. He could pick up a steel chair, a kendo stick, and start wailing somebody. If he needed to get physically involved, he could do that. But the other option is you could have CM Punk going out as special guest referee. Now there's a couple of reasons for this. I think it would totally make sense. It would have the dichotomy and the issues sprung up with Drew and CM Punk, with Seth and CM Punk, and Punk can play on both of this during the match. Punk can come out as special guest referee and being able to kind of play it actually down the middle because he doesn't like either guy. So Punk doesn't have any real motivation to count a pinfall quicker on one opponent versus the other opponent. Punk could be the one coming in and mediating this thing, trying to get the best outcome and doing it fair, because either way, Punk could be motivated that I just want to be able to face whoever the world heavyweight champion is going to be, whether it's Seth and he has that story baked in there and we're still going to get that at some point, or it's Drew McIntyre. And so Punk being in the match itself, Special guest referee doesn't have to take a bump. He literally doesn't even have to raise his arm to do the count. He used the other arm. You could get a lot of really cool special moments in a match with a special guest referee like Punk, because it would all be the emotions, the facial expressions, Drew getting in his face, Seth getting in his face, the 2 counts, the near falls, a lot of stuff. Maybe there's just some slip on a banana peel moments where it looks like Punk screwed somebody over. Maybe it was accidental. They could play with it in so many different ways and go in so many different directions. Additionally, we are getting CM Punk on Monday Night Raw. It's coming from Chicago. It's right before WrestleMania. Punk coming back to TV is an interesting piece. Yes, it is Chicago. Sure, why not pop a huge rating because you are going to be there. The live crowd will love it. It's a cool moment. But what's the motivation for Punk to be on TV this close to WrestleMania? Maybe to announce what his WrestleMania plans are, because he now has gone through surgery. He's recuperating right now. They had shots of him working out. He's trying to get stronger. This is where I really think that CM Punk will make an announcement that he's going to be at WrestleMania. You could even have in Punk's segment, you have Drew come out and interrupt. You have Seth come out, interrupt that, and then you clearly see the 3 of them in the ring. To me, that should close Monday Night Raw, is Punk and the 3 of them total in the ring in a segment. And you cap it off with Punk announcing that he talked to Adam Pearce and it's gonna happen, that Punk's gonna be special guest referee. You also want to please the Mania crowd. Big pop, it lifts that match even higher. The stakes are already very high, and again, there is the element of the bloodline that could come out to help out Drew McIntyre. Maybe Punk has to push them out of the match. Then you get something a little bit interesting there with CM Punk ruffling feathers with the bloodline. So there's future stuff you could do down the road with Roman or The Rock. You lay a lot of seeds when it comes to Punk being involved in the match, and you give the WrestleMania crowd a huge moment by having CM Punk at WrestleMania. Not wrestling, but he's there in some capacity. Sure, I totally expect Punk to be there for the whole weekend, doing PR, doing a bunch of stuff, because he can't wrestle, but he can do everything else. That's where commentary has come up as an option. But as great as Punk is, in my opinion, at commentary, I want to see him in the ring. I want Cult of Personality to hit at WrestleMania. It all kind of builds into his return, and it's kind of a nice consolation prize for Punk not being able to wrestle at WrestleMania, but for him to go out there and be the referee, it'd be kind of cool. You could also have a referee shirt that says like best in the world on the back of it, which would just be kind of clever. But then how, if this does happen, how would the match go down? Sure, maybe the bloodline interferes. Sure, maybe Damian Priest tries to cash in as well. Maybe these things all happen and it's a huge mess and it could be a lot of fun. But for Punk's moment, I think what ends up happening is, regardless of all those potentials, Drew McIntyre hits one or multiple claymores on Seth. Seth is destroyed, and Punk has to slide in and look at Drew McIntyre in the eyes as he counts to 3. So Punk has to reluctantly give Drew the belt. 2 of them can square off and face off. Punk has to get out of there. You got a new champion in Drew McIntyre, a strong, dominant heel champion. Seth then goes to the tag team match for the main event, and he goes in beaten, battered, broken down, lost his title, and The Rock can walk around saying, we did take that away from you, if there was bloodline interference. But Punk's involvement with the World Heavyweight title, with that match, it does put in a lot of pieces in play for when he eventually returns, maybe around SummerSlam, and getting a match against Drew or Seth, or it's a triple threat, because then that protects kind of everybody, and you could set up even longer stories. So Punk's return around SummerSlam, if that is the plan, there is a long story that can be told between him and Seth, between him and Drew, all 3 of them combined, and then you could even get stuff if bloodline's involved. You can even tease stuff with Cody. You can tease stuff with Rock, Roman, whatever you want to do with Punk, assuming he stays healthy. So what do you think? Does CM Punk return at WrestleMania to be special guest referee? Do you think it works? Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. If you guys enjoy videos like this, click subscribe, hit the like button. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.